Well, I'm here now with Douglas Murray. Douglas, you've just been speaking to Peter Whittle, and you're quite well known for your views on Islam, social cohesion, but I just wanted to pick up something you mentioned to Peter, which was that the difference that in America, Christianity actually plays quite a big part in their politics, but it's removed from British politics. Do you think that that's right, that it's entirely... it's not there?
Yes, I do. I mean, I've not got any particular animus against Islam any more than any other religion. I'm not actually a loather of religions. I do want them, however, not to be involved in our politics. And in the following way, if I can just say this. The European Enlightenment had one crucial, vital success, which was that it started the process of getting religion out of our politics. Now, that's not to say that people can't claim, inspiration from their religious beliefs in making moral decisions, but it is to say that never again could somebody try to win an argument by saying, well, the verse of the book I believe is revealed says this, therefore. And I think we've been very good in this country at keeping religion out of politics in that way for a long time, and we're handing it back at the moment, but handing it back in Islam's terms.
It's also interesting, you mentioned about how institutions have been sort of, wrecked over sort of recent history. Particularly, the C of E is perhaps, one example. What do you think of how that has affected British society, the fact that, the C of E is declining the way it has? Do you think that's a bad effect?
It's had some bad effect in some accordance. I mean, if a religion is going to be benign, I can think of nothing better than the C of E, which I was a member of most of my life, and which I still have fondness for. I don't see militant Anglicans very much, although if you go to Africa you can see some pretty good examples. Look, my feeling about the Anglican Church is that it is, as I say, the nicest form of a religion, and as long as it keeps out of politics, I don't mind. What I note is very sad for Anglicans, is that the Anglican Church cannot at the moment find a leader who is willing to speak on its own behalf. I mean, once the Archbishop of Canterbury, or the Grand Mufti of Canterbury as I call him, came out for saying that Sharia law was inevitable, you might as well give up. At least the Church of England should say what it believes, but it doesn't.
And I've also heard, you said you were an Anglican, do you describe yourself as a cultural Anglican?
I describe myself as a cultural Christian, because I recognise the values of Christianity and certain aspects of Christianity which have undoubtedly been at the centre of our culture. Now, I think that it's possible I mean, look, take a step back just quickly. It's no good that having generations of people born in this country who don't know how we got where we are. One of the things I notice more and more is that people seem to be entirely unaware of how they got here. And they think that it's inevitable, particularly sort of left-wing, liberal so-called progressives, who talk as if the rights they enjoy were always enjoyed and can't be taken away from them. They don't know how they got these rights. And if you don't know how you got rights, it's damn sure that you're not going to know how they're taken away from you. So I think we need better to explain to people. In fact, it's the next book, but one I want to write between us. I think we have to find a way to explain to people how we teach our heritage and how we teach even our religious heritage to people, so that we don't produce generations of children who have absolute illiteracy about our past.
Just one very final, maybe slightly cheeky question. Do you think that, if you see sort of some value to C of E, to Christianity, do you think that's out of coincidence, or do you think there's maybe something more to it?
No, I think it's not coincidence. I think that there is the Christian religion has a number of things. I disagree with some of my atheist comrades and friends like Christopher Hitchens in some regards. I think that religions are different. I mean, one of the great lies of sort of interfaith dialogue is just to pretend there's no differences between them. And what happens always in interfaith dialogue is the Jews and the Muslims agree they've got similar dietary laws, and the Christians and the Muslims agree they both believe in the historical Jesus. Once you go beyond that, everything else is disagreed upon. The Christians believe that Jesus is crucified, resurrected, Muslims not so much, and so on. In other words, all of the most important things are ignored. Now, I would just put it this way. At the moment in the world, the most significant threat, I believe, comes from fascist forms of Islam, extremism in Islam. Islam has a serious problem in the tenets of its religion. And I believe that Muslims should deal with that. I believe they should say, for instance, that it is important that you say that if there are violent verses in the Quran, and there are, that you ignore those verses. And you should say, we will throw those verses out. If Muhammad does violent things, we say, well, he was a bit of a shit on those things, and I can still believe in him as a prophet, but, you know, you have to drop things. In other words, Islam has to get to the stage that Christianity and Judaism have been at for some time, which is to say that interpretation is fine. Muslims quite often say that interpretation in that the faith has always happened. In actual fact, the strict rigors of Islam traditionally have always stayed there. It is the reason why you can still find no school of Islamic jurisprudence that believes that people who apostatize from the religion shouldn't be killed. Still. This is outrageous, but I think that, I put it this way, I have a cultural fondness for Christianity because it's the culture I know, it's the culture I was born into, and much of it has produced the culture that I still love very deeply. So of course I have a fondness. I also recognize that Muslims and ex-Muslims may well feel a lot of that for their own. I don't want to change that. I just think that it is very important that people in the West, and cultural Christians and Christians, are clear about how we got here and what we want to defend. As it stands at the moment, we sort of stand this sort of terrible, cringing, wimping, sort of snivelling lack of belief in ourselves. And we see these people come along, and even if it's fascist Islamists, we say, well, they believe in something. How wonderful, how admirable they believe in something. We have to be a lot better at believing in ourselves and recognizing not just what we've done wrong, which our opponents could do with admitting as well, but also realizing what we've achieved, what we've got right. And actually, if you look back over history, the British nation and our cultural history stands, I think, better than almost any other I can think of, as a culture that, yes, has done things wrong, like every single culture, but has also got the greatest attainments that any culture in history has attained, the greatest heights anyone has attained. I think we've got a lot more to be proud of than we have to be shameful of, and I just wish that more people said it. I think the time for sort of self-flagellation should be over, and we should be a bit better at saying, actually, I think this is the best place to live, I think the best attainments to have, and to hell with the rest of them.
Well, Douglas Murray, thank you very much for that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.